JD. Welcome to my channel. Hope you liked my guitar playing the other day. And what do we have got going on today? This is Tim's watch. So this is Tim's watch, and it is a nice old watch. So I did some work on polishing this here. I think I can still do a little bit more work here on the edges here. Definitely. And the case back looks pretty good now. This looked pretty bad before. But again, I can still do a little bit more work on this to polish the back a bit more. I still think there's just leftover polishing cream here or whatever. Like if I rub that with my fingernail, that stuff goes away. So that's coming off my polisher, my wheel. So I just have to get rid of that. And that'll clean up nicely. So there we go. So we got the case back here. And this is kind of coin, what is it? Coin silver? Nickel silver, it says. Nickel silver plated. Nickel silver plated. So that was my wrestling name, nickel silver. And I think this one here I could do a little more work on. But I do think there's an accumulation of polishing stuff on the edges here, because it tends to just accumulate when you're using the polisher. Unless I use the Dremel tool and do it with that. But I'll finish that stuff up after. But what I have here is a basket full of fun. So this is the basket that I use to do the cleaning. I put my basket into this wireless charger box. I still have a wireless charger, by the way, but I throw that in there so that way when I go down in the basement and do some work, I don't risk actually dropping the box or dropping the cage or dropping something. It's a bigger container and it makes me feel a little more safe. So these are all the components. I'm trying not to grab all these with my hands because I don't have a glove on right now, but I'm going to put one on in a few minutes, and we're going to start with the removal of all this stuff out of the cage. So that's the first step to do. Turn on some lighting here. Lighting. Before I start, I just want to explain these glasses. So this is an Ary loop, A-R-Y loop, and I saw some guys from the Rolex company using one of these loops one day years ago, and I thought, oh, this is the best of the best. I got to get myself one of these Ary loops. So I did. I bought an Ary loop, and it's just amazing. And I bought a pair of glasses that the bottom lens is a ×3, so I can do close-up pocket watch work about a foot away, and then the top lens is a 0.5 or 0.6, something like that. Sorry, 1.5, 1.6, which allows me to look at my computer screen if I need to do that for reference work or whatever. So that's that. I'm a little bit washed out in my picture because I got a massive light coming down here, and that's why I'm the whitest guy you'll ever meet. Oh yeah. So there we go. So these are the glasses I use. So I put these on so I can see what the heck I am doing. This is live, folks. Live, I'm telling you. It's live until I turn it off. Then it's not live anymore. So that's it. That's that. And then I've got the a pair of gloves I need to put on there. So I just reach over to my glove storage area here, and I've got a whole whack of these gloves, and you can buy them in a cardboard container, and you blow on them to. After you take them off, you peel them off backwards, and you blow on them, put them back on again. So, and I wear this glove on this hand only. I don't bother with this hand here because I'm not going to pick things up with this hand. But what I want to do here is just remove the parts from the cleaning basket. So I use a Pearl cleaning machine. I put a video on online yesterday on the use of the Pearl machine, and it's not a bad machine. The only problem it has is it's a 220 volt and makes the regulation of the motor speed a bit iffy. So someone told me, well, just go buy yourself a transformer that'll step up the voltage from 120 to 220. The problem with the transformer, I looked it up, and a lot of people got it delivered, and guess what? Not working. Or some people got it and it was working and it was just off and on. So I've been able to fiddle with it enough to not worry about it too much. So I've got a bunch of screws coming out here, and to understand which screw is what, I kind of see I've got 2 case screws here. I'll put those aside and line those up like that. And then I've got screws that are made for the plates, and it's pretty obvious which screws are which. Like that. I'm lining them up like this. And 2 more plate screws. And again, you need to learn how to hold things with your screwdriver. So if you don't have the Midas touch, then you've got to get it. These two screws are likely for the pallet, the bridge for the pallet fork, likely. So they'll line those up there. So now I've got 4 containers with stuff in it, and I usually separate the containers so I can separate the wheels that are dainty from other things. So I've got these containers here, and I'll use this screwdriver here to wedge this container open. I'm got to be conscious of the video here because I'm getting in my own way as I'm taking these shots. So just remove this like that, and I prefer dumping as opposed to picking up, because if you dump it onto this little mat, there's less chance of stuff getting damaged. If I pick it up and pull it out, there's a chance that the part might scrape against the side of the cage of this sub cage, right? So I'm going to pick it up with this fingers only so you guys can see it, and then just get my screwdriver in here, push it in, and rotate. So this is a very old watch. It's called the Regina watch, and it's my buddy Tim's dad's watch, and he likely got it from his dad and maybe passed along from his dad, who knows. And this pocket watch was built by the Omega company. That's the hour hand here, and this is the minute hand here, hour hand wheel, I'll say, not the hour hand. The cannon pinion here. So I'm just putting all these things down, and here's the bridge for the pallet fork. And I'll put that where the screws are, so everything is nicely lined up. Anyway, the Omega company built a lot of these low jeweled watches. They're fairly good quality, but definitely low jeweled. This is a 7 jewel watch. And here's the 4th wheel here, and that's the 4th wheel pivot. And then I've got the escapement wheel, as I've been instructed to call it by one of my patrons, I'll say, even though I don't have patrons, one of my subscribers. I should try for patrons, eh? What the hell? I might get some. So you can let me know if I'll get any patrons. Patron saints. Get my Tim Hortons wages up a bit. So they made these low-end watches, movements, and they shipped them to North America. And then the jeweling company would go to a case company, and I think Canada had a case company. They had a few case companies, I think, but they did definitely have a case company. This is the screw, I think, for the balance cock over here. So the case companies, there was one in Peterborough, and that's where the Peterborough Watch Company was, and they were making those Big Ben watches, the dollar watches, and just spitting those out at millions a year. So millions of watches a year. And here's all the setting mechanisms. And I always dump this after. Make sure there aren't any bonus pieces in here that I forgot about. And they're not. That's good. So that's 1, that's 2. Put these back in the can for the next cleaning. The next cleaning will be the Zenith bumper movement that I'll be doing. Likely do that maybe next week. Maybe start it this week. I could do this week and clean it. Here's the mainspring. I was told I probably could reuse that mainspring, but I got to find that leaf, and I think the leaf is in the bucket, and I've got to heat that leaf up and then crunch it down. Here's the mainspring barrel. So bring that barrel out. Everything looks nice and clean now. This Pearl watch cleaning machine does a great job. And here are some of the plates for the watch. So just put those out like that. This is a very low jeweled watch, as they said. Low jeweled. How low can you go? I don't even know what this is for. This is part of the watch. It's for something. Okay, I'll have to figure that out. That came out of something. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know if I'll have to look at my disassembly video, but I don't remember where that piece came from. It's not recognizable, but it did come from in the basket, so therefore it's part of the watch. And I don't recognize it. I do not recognize it. So that's that. And then I'll drop these baskets back down again. So put them back in the basket holder. I've got 2 of these basket holders, which is pretty handy if I'm super busy. I'm not super busy right now, by the way, so if you have a watch that you want to send me, go ahead. And I'll see what I can service it. I slow down a bit in the summertime, actually because of the cottage. I end up at the cottage and don't have the time implant, I'll say, to do watch work. So rid of this, I put this back into the container, and I've got to start the build of the watch. So the build of the watch means I've got to do plenty of oiling. Now I took this watch and I cleaned it, and there are all the components there, but I cleaned this watch and I basically I said basically again, I cleaned the watch quite well, and I left it for 24 hours. So I had it, as you saw in the video, the Pearl video, that went through the washing cycles, and I left it for 24 hours to be completely dry, so that the watch is completely dry. My God, I'm white. I could change the filtering on this so it's a little less white. Let's try that. Hopefully that made a hill of beans difference. Did that make a hill of beans difference? I think what makes a difference is if I turn my light down here, then I don't look so awful. So there we go. So the first thing I'm going to do here is find that little tiny leaf, and I've got to reinstall it into this watch here, but I'm going to set myself up so you guys can see what I'm doing and not have to look all over the place. I know the leaf is in here. I can't finish this watch off until I actually repivot the balance. So that's a job that I have to do. And let me see, get that leaf out. There it is there. And I just have to tuck that in and heat it up. So I'm going to just move this over here because I'll forget about it if I don't take it out. Oot! Oot! That should be good there. Let's see some of the other parts of the watch. So there you go. So let me just get a better video here. All right, the first thing I need to do is put this little tab back into the mainspring area. And I'm having a look at it here, and this little tab just fits right in the slot. So let me just show you the slot here. So there's a slot right there. Can you see that slot? I don't know if you can see that slot. I'll show you up here. There's a slot right here, and that tab has got to go into this slot right here, and I want to squeeze that. So what I'll do is I'll just put the tab in the slot while I have the slot tab out, and I want to make sure that the square end is facing outward, and that way it can catch the hook on the barrel. So I want the square end facing outward. So this would be, there's a square end. I got like dark gloves on, this doesn't help, but the square end is facing outward. That means the end that's not so square is facing the other way. So let's just put that in like this right now, and I'm just going to see if I can slide that into place. Maybe not, maybe so. We'll see. It's a little bit touchy, and of course, like everybody else complains, I'm doing it on camera. So there we go. So that's now in place like that. And I really want to squeeze this down to tighten it, right? But if I squeeze it too much to tighten it, there's a chance that this could break. So I'm going to put this camera up a bit so you can see what's going on here. So there it is there, two views. So there's the tab right there. And I don't want to break that if I squeeze that. So I've got myself a torch, and I'm going to try not to burn shit while I'm turning this torch on, like my computer screens and stuff. So I'm going to point it a little bit downward. But to turn the torch on, I've got to basically press this down, but I've got to get this out of the way back here. So once I got this going, it should be no problem at all. I'm going to hold this with my fingers. Hopefully it won't heat up too much. That's all I need to do. And then I just have to take this, line that up like so, make sure it's lined up well, like that. It tends to be sticking to the, I think these pliers are magnetic, not good. And this end here is a bit annealed right now, so I'm farting around with this while you're watching, but I want to pull this out and straighten it up like that. Push it in as deep as I can push that in. I think that's probably deep enough. And then I want to clamp down on this thing. It tends to want to move here on me. I'm not sure why, but all right, that's clamped down pretty good there, so I don't think that's going to move, which is good. And now I've got to get that back into the barrel. Now, probably going to do it by hand, because I find that when you're doing this very touchy watch work, that putting this back into the barrel not by hand is hard. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go wash my hands. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back, but I need to check the direction of this in the barrel on the video I took. As you can see, this winds in clockwise. So it winds in just as it's sitting here in the picture in the side. So I'm going to wind it in by hand now. So the first thing I look for is that little notch, and the notch is right on the bottom of the mainspring barrel. So I look for that notch because I'm going to line the spring up with that notch, even though it'll slide and hit that notch. But I'd rather it be close to the notch when I put it in. So I'm just going to put it in from this side right here. And I did cut my fingernails, so they're not as effective as they were before, but I think it's not the world's smallest mainspring that I'm winding in like last time. So I'm going to do half of it like that, and then pull that over, and then use my finger to pull it over again, and then push it over, and then pull it, and then push it, and then pull it, and just keep doing that until I get the spring into the barrel. So I've done quite a few springs this way, so this should be fine and dandy. Make sure you wash your hands really well to get any oils off your hands, the residual oil off your hands that might be there. Now, I really wish I had my long fingernails right now, because they would help me a lot, but I don't, so I'm just going to have to make do. I don't want the spring to just pop out on me, so I just need to keep reeling it in nice and easy, and eventually it'll get to a point where it just wants to be in there. There we go. And there's the spring in the barrel, so that's pretty darn good. Let me just get a close-up of this. There's the spring in the barrel. What a wonderful job I have done. So that's the spring in the barrel, and now I want to put a little bit of oil on that spring. Now you need to get some of these little bench blocks here. This is my favorite one right there. This works so well, and it's got various functions, the grooves here for certain things, and the holes obviously, and it goes that way. This one here, actually you can remove roller tables from this one here if you slide it in like that and then punch down. So this has got various functions as well. It's meant to be this way and not the other way, so this is another one I have that's kind of a backup one, but I use this one more than often. So I need that because I need to put the arbor back in here. So let's see if I can do that. Now when I look at the arbor, and I look at the hole there, the spring, it goes in this way, and it's got to catch the spring right on the hole on the spring on the inside. So this is one of these mainsprings with a hole, so I have to look at the actual arbor here and see where the catch notch is on this thing. So, and it's the catch notch is right on the side here. It's right there, and so this would go down, and that notch would line up with that hole, hopefully. So we'll see if I can do that. These are things that are difficult to do with this glove on, so it's a hit and miss sort of thing. So I just do this and just do a little bit of praying as I put this in. So it's hit and miss, but you know, that's the business of watchmaking. I got to look up close with my airy loop here to make sure that I'm lined up, and I'm not. So I'll twist that just a bit now to line it up properly, like this, and then I've got it lined up like this, and I can take a very small screwdriver like this, and I can take that screwdriver. Let me just adjust the camera here a bit so you can see maybe, and I'll stick that screwdriver in where the leaf of the spring is on the edge, and I'll see if I can move that outward just a bit to get that notch in the right place. Moved over just a bit too much, so I'm going to move that back a bit, like that. Look down at that notch, And then I just have to put the screwdriver in between the leaf and the arbor and kind of twist it, right? Like that. And I get my thumbnail in there, and it should do right there. So it's a little bit too far forward, so I can grab that and just twist it a bit. So it's if you've got yourself a pin vise, it's easy to grab this with a pin vise, but I can also use the pliers that you saw me with just earlier, and I just want to grab that and twist it just a bit to line this up. So I grab the arbor like this and then just twist that like that. There we go. Now that's lined up, and I want to see if that's actually grabbing the hook, because that's the most important part right there, is that it's grabbing the hook. So there we go. So now it's in place. It should be grabbing the hook, and it looks like it is, and that's kind of what it looks like there. And let me just give you a close-up up here, and there we go. And it's kind of grabbing the hook. So if it's not grabbing the hook, it can be really easily reset. And this is where you want to have one of these blocks here, because when I put this down, I don't want this to be pressing on the arbor, right? So I want to be able to put it down like that without pressing on the arbor, pressing up on the arbor, because that might ruin things. I got to watch this second camera here that I don't get that in the way, because the next thing I'm going to do is then take the cover and place the cover onto the on there, but I've got to do a little bit of oiling first. So these are old mainsprings, and an old mainspring, you want to take some 91, what's it called, HP 1300, which is 9104. I should remember that, right? And I want to put a bit of 9104, and that's the red oil. Clean it off a bit, and I want to take that and put it on the spring here, because these are very old mainsprings. And I'll put that in 4 places. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And that'll work itself into that mainspring without a problem. Move that like that. There we go. So, and that's a standard practice to do that. And then I want to put the barrel cap back on. Now the good thing with this barrel cap is it's not a T mainspring, so I can line it up any way I want. And I'm going to line it up on the opposite side of where that hook is, right? So I put that on like that, and that'll go down like this. And I'm just going to be pressing down on that to snap that back into place, right? So hopefully that snaps down nice and easy, which I think it did. And I can pick that up and verify that. It's a little bit high on this side, so I can put that between my tweezers here and snap that down, and then work my way around the mainspring like that, so I can make sure that that cap is flat. If it's not flat, it won't ride properly within the watch. So there it is, flat like that, and I've got myself a barrel, and there it is. So that's all good. Move this out of the way. And now I've got to set myself up with this part of the watch and the Myers number 58 movement holder, which is this beast here. Somebody was asking me the other day how many pieces there are to this. So this is the piece that holds the pocket watches, and then there are the claws, or whatever you're going to call them, the second one that hold watches, and this is the one. These are the ones here that kind of hold watches, and then there's another one set here. I'm missing a set here. Yeah, maybe I am. No, I must have dropped it somewhere, because I don't believe I was missing any sets. So this set here holds very small watches, ladies' watches, and then this final step or thingamajobby doohickey there holds other things. So, but there's one missing here, so I'm not sure why it's missing, but I'll have to look through all my parts, because I'm sure it's somewhere, because all these things were complete. I never use this one anyway, so I don't need its brother. So I use the first 2 that I showed you. So this one here and the other one. So, and for this one here, I'm just going to widen that up, and we'll be good to go. Now here's the Myers number 58 movement holder, and I'm telling you, they are the best. The best. Here's the watch, the main movement. Now, sometimes I will take out all of the springs here that are part of the mechanisms here, and sometimes I won't. I tightened these up and didn't take them out, and the reason for that is I'm really concerned about, because of the age of this watch and the uniqueness of the actual setting mechanisms, that if anything were to break, taking the screw off or removing the setting mechanism, I would likely have a very difficult time sourcing a new one without actually buying another movement of this nature, of this caliber, right? So I don't want to be in that situation, but I've got to do a bit of oiling now to complete this. Let me move this over a bit. So if you look in the bottom left-hand side, you'll see the new Andon Star micro. It's basically a microscope, but a micro camera that I'm using, and that picture is the result. The one you see at the top there is the result. So it's pretty friggin' amazing. So it gives me extreme close-ups, right? So this is I invested in this for you folks so you could see this and enjoy the videos even more. So I'll turn off the second camera so we can look at the main one. There we go. Now I want to do a bit of lubricating of this, and I'm going to use this HP 1300 synthetic, which is really good, but I want to put a little bit on the spring mechanisms here so that they'll last a long time. So the thicker the area, the more, I guess, the more friction, the thicker the lube you'll use, right? So that to make sure that these parts are smooth and are reacting smoothly. So I put a little bit extra in there, but I can dab away at that with my Rodico to clean that up a bit after. So, but I want that to have a little bit of lubrication on the end there. So, a little bit tricky. So there we go. And I'm going to put a little bit inside of here. Like that. So when the setting mechanism goes in there, then there won't be any problem at all. And while I'm here, I might as well lube up the center wheel right here. I'm going to peg that out first before I put lube on that. I think I want to peg that out. And to peg that out, I need a piece of pegwood. Where did I put my pegwood? There it is. So I have a piece of pegwood right here, and I just want to peg this out to make sure it's nice and smooth. And I'm not losing inadvertently losing any, there's too much friction in there. So it's good to peg out these holes to make sure you're good with them. And the pegwood works really well with that. You can clean the pegwood up with your Rodico as well to get out a little extra pegwood out of there. And then I'm going to Rodico these holes too, if there's any flakes or any leftovers that have come through. And just poke them with the Rodico, like so. And that'll get rid of any extra stuff that's there. Rodico is man's best friend. I'm telling you. And I'm going to peg out the other holes here too. They're really small, but this is peggable. Like that and like that. And these ones here I don't think are peggable. So they're very, very, very small. So I'll just end up leaving pegwood on the side. So that's that. And I should have just left that oil on there because I'm going to need it anyway. So I'm going to put a little bit here. Perhaps this is a bit too much, but probably a little bit too much. And while I'm here, I'll be able to oil those from the other side anyway. So get my Rodico out here and just do a little bit of NHL cleanup here. There we go. Now tonight the Edmonton Oilers are playing Florida. And as a Canadian, I'm going to clean this up a bit here too. I'd love for them to win. It's been a long time since a comeback. I guess they lost the first 3 games, and then they came back and won 3 in a row. And this is the last game. Extremely disappointing if they lose. I don't know if I want to watch it. It's going to freak me out. It's going to be too intense. Too intense, folks. So I don't want, the only thing I should be intense are people. People should be intense. So here we've got the stem and a couple of wheels. So I'm trying to remember which way these wheels go. Well, I know this wheel goes in here and it goes in first, and I need to actually, I think I need to oil this up before it goes into position. Because this would go in here, I think, but it doesn't seem to want to fit. So this I thought went in here, but I'll have to look at my picture of the stem, because I got myself pictures of everything. So I took pictures of the stem as well, knowing very well that I would forget what everything looked like. Yeah. So that's the picture of the movement together. So you're not going to be able to see this properly, but that's the picture of the movement all together, and I've got the stem where it's supposed to be and everything else, so it looks pretty good. Yeah. So I think it just goes in like that. So it may just go in just like that, like this, but I have to put the other, this is the crown wheel, I think. It has to go in too. And I don't have the camera facing me right now, so I'm just placing this in place, putting this in place, and I'll just put this into the watch so it fits nicely. There we go. So this goes in like so. Now I got to somehow slide this wheel into the hole here and then slide that forward. This never wants to go in properly, by the way. This is so dastardly when you're putting this back together. Sometimes I've put Rodico in the bottom and it is pushed upward on it, so I might try that this time. So because it's almost impossible to put it in the way I'm putting it in right now. So I could put it in pieces and then put the stem in. So the pieces would be, let me think here, piece 1, piece 2, and piece 3. This piece here would go in on its own first. I know I'm going to have to do that on my own. I know it. Know it? I wrote it. And then this piece, I need to get Rodico in the bottom of this thing, so I can basically use the Rodico in the bottom as a housing while I put the rest of this in place and pushing up on the watch movement here. So this is likely not going to work, only because you're all watching me. So I've got this piece in now, and then this wheel goes in next, right? But this is in the way, so I can't put it in next. I need 2 pairs of tweezers. We're going to do surgery on this today, so this is not the way I would normally do it, because I could disassemble part of this and get it in properly. So I want to get the wheel in first. This wheel would go in like this first, so I'd lift this up and then put that in like that. This is brain surgery, folks. And then if I can get this to a certain point, I can actually get this part here inside of here. So I want to move that. Well, it kind of dropped out anyway, but I want to push this like forward. And I'm going to have to look closer here to do this, to see what the heck I'm up to here. Now I'm going to have to take this out a bit for this wheel to go forward a bit, like that, and then for this to go up a bit. Let me see, out, down, forward, up, like that. Oh, I almost had it. Like that. And then this would go in like this. This really sucks. Like this. And then, I don't think I've ever shown this part of the assembly, but what a pain. What a pain. Now this has to be lifted way up in order to get this down, which means it's probably going to fall out. Nope. There we go. Like that. And then this part gets fed all the way through. I'm going to put a little bit of oil on that first, though, just because I'm that kind of guy, right? So I'm going to put a little bit of oil right on the shaft right here. And I think the rest of it's fine. I've already oiled this gear here, and I don't need any in the teeth, I don't believe. So we're just going to leave this oiler just sitting here with oil dripping from it. And now I'm going to go back in with the surgery, 2 tweezer surgery. I hope you guys appreciate this. This could be 2 videos, by the way, only because of the amount of time I'm taking today. Come on, get in there. It's got to go in a little bit further. There we go, look at that. And homeward bound, folks, homeward bound. Look at that. She's in place. There we go. And I want to put a little bit of oil, the yellow stuff, which is the really thick stuff, on here. And on here. And that'll ensure that slides around a bit. I'm going to put some right there too. Well, that was fun. So that is the technique for doing that, which is tricky as crap. That's 2 tweezer technique. So I think I will make this part 1, but let's put some plates in first. So I'm going to just throw the mainspring barrel into place here because I know that this will fit nicely in here. And as you can see, it's sliding very nicely, right? So that is excellent. And I've got the plate that goes over the mainspring barrel is this one here. And it requires another wheel to be in there. So, or 2 more wheels actually. So we need to get the center wheel in place. So I'll just throw that in. And the intermediate wheel, which I think goes before the center wheel. But I'm going to have a look at I'm going to look at the layout to make sure that I've got the right layout. Yeah, the center wheel goes in. Yeah, the intermediate wheel goes in, then the center wheel goes in. That's how it works. So intermediate wheel, then the center wheel. So this is the intermediate wheel, right? So that goes in like this. And it just kind of sits there like that on top. And then the center wheel goes in like this. And the good thing that this intermediate wheel just rests along the mainspring. So that goes in like that. And those are the wheels there. And then I believe I can put the plate on now. I think I've got everything I need to put this plate on. So there's the plate I need to put on. And I just put that plate right over the top and line that up. Yeah, line that up like this, and then lower it, and that should fit on nicely. I need to pay attention to what I'm doing here. There we go. So now that goes on there. Let me get this piece of Rodico out. That failed miserably. And what I always do is I put the 3 screws in really loosely. So I have the plate where it needs to be, and I'm not farting with screws. So I put the 3 screws in like this. Right now I can just lay them all in, no problem. I'm having screw problems today, I think. They're wanting to jump out, which is never good. 1, 2, and the third one. And I'm going to tighten them up very loosely. Does that make sense? Tightening them loosely until I can find home with the wheels. I just move them down like that, and I'm not even going to tighten it. Just back it off. I want to make sure they're threaded in, and then I'm going to back them off a little bit. And that way I know that plate's going to stay where it's supposed to stay, right? And then for the wheels, I just look down and make sure my wheels are all good. This one is not in place. There we go. And this one needs to be put in place as well. Oh, there we go. And I can see the wheel through the top there. And now I'll tighten the screws a little more, but not completely, right? So I don't want this to be tightened down until I'm absolutely sure that everything is in place. So there, that's down like that. And then this one's down as well. Let me see if I can line this up like that. And now I look at the edges. Let me tighten my movement holder up a bit. And I just look at the edges right here to make sure that the plate is actually flush with the bottom plate. And I look at the edge here and make sure that's flush. And then when I turn this wheel, the other wheel's turning without a problem. So the wheels are in place, and everything's good. Now I can tighten these down, and I'll put my finger over the top here just to give it a little bit of a grip while I tighten these. And they're tightened snug. I'm not sure how to define what the torque of snug is, but it's not. It's snug. And then you check the wheels again and make sure everything is fine. And you'll know that if I move the mainspring barrel just ever so slightly like that, you'll see the wheels move too. So we're good there, and that's good. So that's all working well. Let me move that mainspring barrel and show you how that works in case you missed that. And there we go. And now I need to put on various other things, I'll say. I think the ratchet wheel goes down, right down. I'm really curious where this came from. So unless it came from the ratchet wheel, I don't think it did, because it doesn't fit over the top there. So I am not sure where this came from, whether it was leftovers from something else or what, because this makes no sense at all. This piece here makes no sense at all. And it's part of a plate maybe. I couldn't tell you. Maybe it was supposed to be in before the mainspring barrel went in. I don't think so, because that's straight down. So it's not that, and it's not any of this. So I'm not actually sure where this piece came from. So you guys can let me know. There's the piece there. When I put this watch together, back together again, and go, wait a second, that's the thingamajobby doohickey for the whatchamacallit. And I go, oh yeah, you're right. It's not for the click spring, I know that. I just don't recognize this part. And it came out of the basket, so is it some other British watch I was cleaning or something? Those Brits, I'm telling you, they always cause problems. So that's that. Yeah, I don't understand. I don't know. I am at a loss, folks. A loss. And now I took the mainspring out. I need to find the screw for the mainspring barrel, wherever that is. It's also MIA. But I took the screws out of the baskets, damn it. Anyway, so I put this back down in here, so that fits right there. And maybe it comes out of the top here. Do you think? Actually, it might. This looks like it might fit right over the top, like that. No? Maybe not. Because this does not look like it's centered here, unless I put the screw in and it centers it. Because that doesn't make any sense. I'm lost. I'm a watchmaker without a clue. maybe it goes on like that. Yeah, there we go. It goes on like this, and then this goes on like this over the top. I think I found it. Yeah, that looks like where it comes from. And then this is the screw for the, let me see, hash mark. This is a screw for the, I have to look at my two screws here and pick the bigger one for the ratchet screw. I think this is a ratchet screw right there. And let me just screw that down quickly. Yeah, that's righty, tighty, loosey, whatever you call it. So that's still loose. I tighten that up and it's still loose. See how that works? That's that screw. And then the screw for the ratchet wheel. And what I want to do before I put the screw for the ratchet wheel in is I want to put a little tiny bit of oil. The HP 1300 or whatever you want to call it. And with an oiler, let me just show you really quickly what you do here. So with the oiler, these are pretty high-end oilers. And what you do, and I'm not going to bother refocusing here, but when you put the oiler in like this, if you pull it out quickly, it pulls up a lot of oil. If you pull it up slowly, like this, it doesn't pull up as much oil. The oil actually sticks to the main pool of oil, and then you get a smaller amount of oil. So that's what you want to do when you're removing the oiler from the oil cup. So I just have to oil in here. I just want to make sure that this ratchet spring is oiled a bit. And of course, I'm Mr. Rodico, so I want to put too much oil in that ratchet spring. I don't even think I showed you where the oiling was. Or did I? Yeah, I think I did. Who knows? Like that. And then I'm not sure if this screw gets tighter, but I should try to tighten this up just a bit. No, that's as tight as that goes. So we're good with that. Good with this. And then I can put the barrel, the mainspring, the ratchet wheel on like that. And I want to get this one, actually it fit no problem. I didn't have to get it out of the way. And here's the screw for the ratchet wheel. I just put that on the top like that. And you got to pick kind of a fat screwdriver so it holds the center when you're screwing that tighter. So you just pick your fat screwdriver, folks, and tighten away. Now I want to hold this down a bit, so I'll just use a little piece of Rodico on it and hold that in place because it's nice and sticky while I screw this screw tight, because this has to be a little bit tight. And then if I turn that screw a little bit, and I hold the gear back, it should put a little bit of power on the movement. Now if I let my finger out, there you go. That's a little bit of power. So I want to just do that again here, just a little tiny bit. There we go. And I want to test that later on when I reassemble the rest. So now I've got to put the escapement wheel in the fourth wheel, and that's my next job. So I should be a whole lot less truthful, but if you watched me, and I did a beautiful job putting all the plate on, what I forgot to do is put these wheels back in. So I apologize for that, because I should have put these wheels in place first before I put the plate down. I realized after I put that in that I was bad boy, go to your room. I didn't put the wheels in, so that was just stupid. So now I've got to put these wheels back in and make sure that they're all lined up again like I said before, but that only takes a few seconds to correct. So it's not a major mistake, but a little bit foolish as I looked down and thought, wait a second, something's wrong. So, and you know what? It happens. It's called shit happens. So I'm going to redo this again, but I should have put all those wheels in place before I put this down, because without them in place, then I don't have a watch to put together, right? So So I've got them all in there now, and I'm just lining this up as best I can while you're paying attention to me here. So I've got that down there again. I've got to make sure that this intermediate wheel pivot is doing its job. And I'm just playing with the intermediate wheel to get that pivot in place. Come on. Oh, I saw a bit of it. There it is. Got it. You just push up on the wheel just a bit to see, and you'll be able to see it. And same as I did last time though, I will screw these down lightly to make sure that they're in place and not down all the way until I check the edges of the plates to make sure that the plates are down. So you guys can laugh at me because I forgot to put the other wheels in, but so be it. But I've got to repivot. I'm going to try to repivot the balance staff for this. So this could be a bit of a job and a half. We'll see. So I've got this in like that, and now I'm going to check the edges to make sure that everything is flush, which it is, no problemo. It's flush there, the wheels are all in, so I can put a little bit of pressure on the plate here and then screw these down. I'll tighten those. So I had to do a bit of a reverse. I tightened them to that point called snug. And now I've got to put the wheel back in here. So this should be not a problem. I'm just going to line it up properly and then just drop it down. And with any luck, it's going to find home. Come on, find home for me. And you can use your brass tweezers here because they don't scratch anything, which is nice. Right? They're nice tweezers. I'm just going to turn it all the way around to the other side. It's being a pain. There we go. There, so that's now in place. Sometimes that can be a little bit of a pain. But like I said before, and like all the people on YouTube that do this, it's a little tricky when you're under camera trying to work. You're not as quiet and relaxed while you're chatting away. There we go. Now I tighten that up. That's good there. And then I don't have to bother putting a bit of wind on that right now. I know that already worked and all the gears are kind of connected here. So we're good there and they're moving. And now I just have to get that other plate and put that in place. I could put the pallet fork in first before I do this. It might be a little easier. Normally I put the rest of it together, then run the train and then put the pallet fork in. So let's do that instead. So I'm going to put this plate on now and then I'm going to run the train. So hopefully this is not going to be a terrible alignment problem, but we'll put this plate in first and we'll see if I can get the pivots to line up. So here normally again I put the screws down, but sometimes I'll hold it with my finger like this and play the touch the pivot game here, or touch the wheel game to see if I can get them to fall in. Sometimes I'm lucky, sometimes I'm not. It's better when I hold it up to my face. I find it a little bit easier to do it that way, rather than like this. Come on. I can actually hold it up and look where the look where the pivot is, if it's left or right of the hole, and then I know, right, and then it just drops down. So I'm going to hold that up. I'll be right back. All right, once I get that final screw in, it took a while to get that pivot to find the hole. I'm not sure why, but this took longer than normal. And normally it doesn't take me that long. And the pivots, the plates are in fact flat. So I can tighten that up now and make sure everything is kind of loosey-goosey here. Yeah. And I'm going to run the train on it now. Tighten that up, and we're going to put a little bit of oil on these holes here, just to make sure it's nice and lubricated. And these, I think I'll use the HP 1500 for this one here because it's a bigger pivot, and this one here as well for sure. And these are steel on steel, I believe. That, and then a little bit on the center wheel here. And that'll find itself down. And I'm going to use the 9110 there on the outer one here. Like that. There we go. And while I'm down here and working so hard, I'm going to put a bit of this stuff here, which is 9415. You can sometimes seen guys put this on the pallet stones. I've also seen people put them on the I could probably apply it to the pallet stones before I put the pallet fork in. That's probably the smartest thing to do. So we'll do that, but for now what I want to do is run the train. So what I do here is hold the center wheel just with my finger like that and put the world's smallest wind on this part of the watch, and we should see the wheel train run down. So let's do that, and I just do a quick wind and make sure that runs down smoothly and to a nice stop, and it does. And you can see it still moving in the center. That is absolutely perfect. So that is the wheel train is running really well. So that part is done. And now the last little bit here is I will put the pallet fork back in. And let me see, where did I hide that pallet fork? I'm looking for Mr. Pallet Fork. He's here somewhere. I think I probably put him where I wouldn't lose him. So I'm going to grab the pallet fork here. And here is the pallet fork. And what I want to do here is make sure that there's a little tiny bit of that oil, the 9415 on the pallet fork, and that provides it enough lubrication to catch and release the feet of the escapement wheel. So I'm going to do that. See if I'm not sure if I could do that under camera or what. Let me have a look here. I could probably do that under camera. What do you think? Should I try that? I'm going to try doing that under camera. So we're going to zoom in nice and close to this pallet fork. Let me see if I can put it down right here like that. There we go. And I'm going to be really nice to you folks. I'm going to zoom right down on this, and then we're going to get a close-up. All right, there's the pallet fork. Oh, what a beautiful thing that is. And here's the 9415 oil, and it's kind of like a, how do I describe this oil? It's kind of a, it's like pudding. It's got the consistency of pudding. So I may have to hold this with my tweezers. I'm not sure how well this works with under camera because I've got to get in very close and I don't want to knock the camera. So let me just try this out here. See if you guys can see this. That's great. If you can't, well, I might apologize ahead of time. And I had a little bit on the, there we go, that's good there. And now I want to grab the smallest little bit out of this thing here. And you guys still looking there? Probably, yes. And I want to just put a little tiny bit on this one here. And that is enough. And that will help lubricate this as it ticks through, which is kind of cool. So I've done watches before that have had average amplitude, and I've put this stuff on and the amplitude just goes crazy, especially in these old pocket watches, because they're so friggin' old, right? So now I've got to put this pallet fork in place before it gets dirty. Let me just have a look at that again. We're good. Yeah, I'm going to just touch this with Rodico on the bottom. There. That's just to pick up anything that might have been suspect. So I'll put that in here. There we go. And now the bridge for the pallet fork needs to go in. This is tough to do. I apologize because I did not zoom properly for this. So there's, I'll just show it to you here and now. And there is the pallet fork in place. I apologize for not zooming properly. The camera, and there's a pallet fork in place, so I just need to place the bridge on there. This is tricky, and I'm going to do it, I'll do it with the close-up. So I'm going to put the bridge on. This is going to look pretty weird this close, so bear with me here. And the bridge needs to find home once I put this in, right? So I need to put the bridge down, and I'm trying to do this with the microscope being super close. So I'm just going to grab it by the screw hole like that and throw it in. Like that. I'm going to have to back out in order to see what I'm doing here, because I'm actually too close. I think it's something like that. But I need to, I'm hitting the camera here with my other glasses. Because what you do once you get the bridge in place is you maneuver the pallet fork so that it just, the upper pivot falls into place. So a little hard to do this close, I'll admit. So I'm going to have to back out and make sure I'm at the right distance to do this job. Alright, this pallet fork was absolutely no fun to put in place, and the reason why is that it was you can't really see the pivot coming through that hole. So I'm just hoping and praying that I've got the pivot coming through the hole. So I'm just going to put these screws down lightly again. I can see that the bridge is flush, right? So that's good. What I'm having a problem seeing is that okay, now I can see it coming through the hole. When I push up on it all the way, I can see it. So it's just a piss poor design. I think it's just, you're not looking at a super high-end watch here, so you're going to have issues like that with it. And it's not really an issue, it's just an inconvenience or something to actually assemble when you're assembling this to have a problem like that. So, of course, my screwdriver is in the way of the wheel here, which is really odd. The center wheel is covering where the screwdriver goes. So I have to use a smaller screwdriver to tighten this because it's in the way Let me just make sure this still moves freely here. Yeah. I know they're tightened down, and this should move freely. Yeah, it does. And now for the test. So the test is, if I put a little bit of power on the mainspring, and I'll do it from the top here. I use the actual ratchet wheel to turn the mainspring. That's a good way of doing it. The pallet fork will act in a way to prevent that from moving. So when I actually touch the pallet fork, it should snap back and forth. So if you look down below, and yes. Yeah, it's snapping back and forth. That guard pin looks so close. It's the angle. It's just my angle. When I'm looking at this, it just looks ridiculously close, and it's not really close at all. So that's working really well. Yeah, the guard pin's up out of the way. It just looks like it's super low. No, it's a point of view. It's a point of view. So it's not. So that's good. It's snapping around like that, and this is what you want. So it's going to be able to accept that triangular impulse jewel. So I'm just going to move these back and forth so they can get most of the teeth of the escapement wheel. And that will be the video for today. And that should be good enough right there. That's going to be the video for today. So that's it. So again, thank you very much for watching the video. The next video you'll see will be me working on the repivoting that balance, the staff for the balance, and that should be a job and a half. So we'll check that out. But before we end this video, I'm going to check and see the accuracy of my friend's Seiko watch. So I'm putting my phone on time is, and guess what, folks? The stock market's doing great, gangbusters today. So I don't have to go work at Walmart. Time is, there we go. That's time O's. There's a time OS as well, not a time IS. Time is. So just put time is down and click on that. And there we can see my buddy's watch. Let me get all this out of the way here, because I want you to see time is, and stop doing other things, people. There's time is right there, and there's my buddy's watch I set. And how close is that? It's pretty darn close. So it's running a little bit fast like it was yesterday, so it's fine. It's 7 seconds fast, and it was 7 seconds fast yesterday. So I think I've got this thing bang on. So I'm going to do a set now. It's been running for, I think, 4 or 5 days, and it's still within 7 seconds. So I tuned this watch before, and it's running really well. So that's it there. 7 seconds, and there we go. That was a quick update. Hey, thanks for watching this video today out there in YouTube land, and thanks for supporting my channel. Please subscribe to my channel and pass it along and get other people to subscribe too. I'm trying to get up to 10,000 subscribers. I think I've got 9,300, so it's getting in pretty close. I don't get the 50,000 views that other people seem to get on their watchmaking videos, because I try to do it as one shot. I try to just talk as I'm doing the video, so you can get the experience of a hobbyist actually doing watch repair. And I made one little mistake today by not putting those 2 wheels in, but I showed you that, and I showed you me fixing it. And the hardest part of today's job was actually lining that escape wheel up with that upper pivot hole. That was hard. So I went away and worked on that for 10 minutes, I think. So that's it. And my new close-up microscope does a great job, so I can get super duper close. This is pretty far away, but I can as close as I need to get to show this kind of work. So I made an investment in this microscope. I hope you enjoy that and the quality of the videos I'm able to make with this now. So thanks a lot, and I'll catch you with the next job, which is going to be repivoting that balance wheel. The actual wheel for the balance needs to be repivoted. Both pivots are broken on the balance staff on both sides, and I probably can't source this Omega balance staff. So I either make a new balance staff or try to repivot. So I'm going to try to repivot first, and if I screw that up, I'll end up making a new balance staff. So shout out to Tim. Hopefully you watched till the very end, and I'll see you later. And yes, it is hard work, so there you go.